80 degrees north, the Arctic Ocean. Beneath ice sheets thick enough to crush steel, a nuclear submarine glides silently through black water. No flags mark its passage, no satellites track its course. This is the world's last true frontier, and Russia is claiming it while the world looks elsewhere. Above the stratosphere, a rocket streaks toward orbit from Baikonur Cosmodrome. Not SpaceX, not Blue Origin. Roscosmos, Russia's space agency that the West wrote off as obsolete, launching more payloads than anyone wants to acknowledge. This is the story the headlines miss. While analysts obsess over GDP figures and tech unicorns, Russia has been quietly rebuilding strategic capabilities in domains where economics matter less than physics, geography, and political will. Space launch capacity, nuclear technology, Arctic infrastructure, hypersonic weapons. These aren't industries you disrupt with venture capital and Stanford dropouts. These are domains built on heavy engineering, institutional memory, and willingness to invest in capabilities that won't show quarterly returns. Domains where Russia refuses to concede defeat. The question isn't whether Russia is a superpower. We've established it's not. The question is, what happens when a wounded power concentrates its remaining resources on strategic niches that America has neglected? Western space enthusiasts love declaring Roscosmos irrelevant. SpaceX launches reusable rockets while Russia flies Cold War relics. The narrative is tidy, appealing, and incomplete. Here's what the narrative ignores. Russia launched 22 orbital missions in 2024. That's fewer than China's 67 and America's combined government commercial total, but it's more than any other nation. France managed 3. Japan launched 2. The United Kingdom, 0 orbital launches from British soil. The Soyuz rocket, designed in the 1960s, remains one of the most reliable launch vehicles in history. Success rate, approximately 97% across thousands of launches. When NASA needed to reach the International Space Station between 2011 and 2020, American astronauts flew Russian every single time. Space isn't just about launch vehicles, it's about what you do once you're up there. And here, Russia maintains a capability the United States abandoned decades ago: nuclear power in space. The Roarsat series, nuclear-powered reconnaissance satellites, gave Russia persistent surveillance capabilities independent of solar power constraints. While American satellites go dormant in Earth's shadow, Russian nuclear-powered systems operate continuously. More significantly, Russia is developing nuclear propulsion for deep space missions. The Nuklon spacecraft, designed to use nuclear electric propulsion, would enable missions to the outer solar system that solar-powered craft cannot accomplish. NASA abandoned similar programs in the 1970s. Russia kept researching. Then there's the avant-garde hypersonic glide vehicle, launched from space-capable ICBMs. Traveling at Mach 27, it can maneuver unpredictably during descent, making interception extraordinarily difficult with current American missile defense systems. The United States is racing to develop comparable capabilities, but Russia deployed avant-garde operationally in 2019. That's not propaganda. It's acknowledged by U.S. Strategic Command. America leads in many military technologies, but in operational hypersonic systems, Russia deployed first. Why does Russia maintain space capabilities despite economic constraints? Institutional continuity. The Soviet space program wasn't dismantled after 1991. It was consolidated. Engineers who built Mir, who launched Sputnik's descendants, who designed closed-loop life support systems, stayed employed. Knowledge persisted. American space capability fragmented. After Apollo, NASA pivoted to the shuttle. After the shuttle retired, a gap opened. Private industry eventually filled it brilliantly, but institutional continuity broke. Russia maintained its space program through economic collapse, political chaos, and international isolation. Roscosmos survives because space capability is deemed existential, not optional. You can't outsource strategic autonomy. Does this mean Russia leads in space? Absolutely not. American space capability, combining NASA, Space Force, and private companies like SpaceX, Rocket Lab, and Blue Origin, is unmatched in innovation, investment, and capability diversity. But declaring Roscosmos irrelevant is strategic blindness. Russia maintains credible, operational space capabilities deployed with specific strategic purposes: reconnaissance, communication security, missile early warning, and potential deep space nuclear propulsion that could redefine cislunar operations. Underestimating Russian space capabilities because they're not flashy is the kind of mistake that creates surprises. Russia possesses 53% of the Arctic coastline. This isn't opinion or negotiable, it's geography. Canada comes second at 16%, then the United States, Alaska at 6%. Norway, Denmark, via Greenland, and Iceland control the remainder. Climate change is melting Arctic ice at rates exceeding worst-case predictions from 2 decades ago. The Northern Sea Route, connecting Europe to Asia across Russia's Arctic coast, is increasingly navigable. Transit time from Rotterdam to Shanghai, via the Northern Sea Route, approximately 23 days, via Suez Canal, 34 days. That's not a future projection, that's the current reality, with improving viability. Russia has been preparing for this for 15 years, while Western nations debated. Russia has constructed or renovated 13 Arctic military bases since 2010. These aren't token outposts, they're year-round facilities with airstrips capable of handling bombers and fighters, deep water ports for nuclear submarines, and advanced air defense systems. Nagorskoye Air Base, Franz Joseph Land. Operational runway for MiG-31 interceptors at 80 degrees north latitude. Temp Base, Kotelny Island. Facilities for 250 personnel with autonomous power generation. Rogachevo Air Base, Novaya, Zemlya. Tu-95 and Tu-160 strategic bomber deployments. These bases create overlapping air defense coverage across Russia's Arctic frontier and project power over shipping routes, undersea cables, and resource extraction zones. By comparison, American Arctic military infrastructure is minimal. Thule Air Base in Greenland and a handful of Alaskan installations. Canada has rangers conducting sovereignty patrols but limited permanent infrastructure. NATO's Arctic presence is reactive, episodic, and under-resourced. Russia operates the world's only nuclear-powered icebreaker fleet. Approximately 7 nuclear icebreakers currently operational or under construction, including the Arctica class, the largest and most powerful icebreakers ever built. These aren't symbolic. Nuclear icebreakers enable year-round Arctic navigation, support resource extraction, maintain sovereignty over territorial waters, and provide logistics for military operations in conditions that halt conventional vessels. The United States has 2 operational icebreakers. 2. Both diesel-powered, both aging, both inadequate for contested Arctic operations. Congress has authorized new icebreaker construction, but delivery timelines stretch into the 2030s. China is building icebreakers. Russia has them now. Beneath the Arctic, the next domain of competition is already contested: undersea cables and resource pipelines. 95% of international data travels through undersea fiber optic cables. Arctic routes offer shorter distances between continents. Russia has mapped these routes extensively and possesses submarines capable of cable-cutting operations. Moreover, Russia's northern fleet includes specialized submarines designed for undersea operations, installing sensors, tapping cables, potentially disrupting infrastructure. These capabilities are acknowledged by NATO intelligence and constitute a strategic vulnerability rarely discussed publicly. The Arctic holds an estimated 13% of global undiscovered oil reserves and 30% of undiscovered natural gas. Russia's Arctic territories contain massive reserves of nickel, cobalt, rare earth elements, and other critical minerals. While the West debates the ethics of Arctic drilling, Russia extracts. The Yamal LNG project, the Arctic LNG 2 project, these are multi-billion-dollar facilities operational now, producing liquefied natural gas for export to Europe and Asia. Arctic resource extraction is difficult, expensive, and environmentally controversial. It's also enormously profitable at scale, and Russia is operating at scale. Why does the Arctic matter strategically? First, control over northern sea route shipping means leverage over Asian-European trade. Russia can offer access or deny it, charge transit fees, provide icebreaker services, or close routes for safety reasons. Second, Arctic bases extend Russia's aerospace defense perimeter and create intercept opportunities against American bombers or missiles transiting polar routes. Geography makes the Arctic the shortest distance between Russian and American strategic forces. Third, undersea control means ability to monitor or disrupt communications infrastructure, vital to Western military operations and economic activity. Fourth, resource extraction generates revenue independent of Western markets and sanctions regimes, while stockpiling strategic minerals that green energy transitions require. NATO held Arctic exercises. The United States updated its Arctic strategy documents. But strategy documents don't break ice, and exercises don't build year-round infrastructure. Russia spent 15 years and billions of dollars building permanent Arctic presence. The West is still conducting feasibility studies. This isn't Russia winning through superiority, it's Russia winning through focus. While American resources flowed to Middle East conflicts, counter-terrorism, and Pacific pivot, Russia concentrated on the Arctic because geography made it inevitable and adversaries ignored it. Rosatom, Russia's state nuclear energy corporation, is the world's largest nuclear energy company by foreign reactor construction. Russia is currently building nuclear reactors in Turkey, Egypt, Bangladesh, India, China, Iran, and several other nations. This isn't just commerce, it's strategic influence. Nations reliant on Russian nuclear technology depend on Russian fuel, maintenance, technical support, and ultimately, Russian geopolitical goodwill. Nuclear reactors operate for 60 years. That's 60 years of dependence. Russia deployed the world's first floating nuclear power plant, the academic Lomonosov, to provide electricity to remote Arctic communities. Floating reactors enable power generation in regions where conventional infrastructure is impossible. This technology has obvious military applications, powering Arctic bases, supporting remote radar installations, enabling sustained operations in regions without grid access. It also has commercial applications, providing power for offshore resource extraction, desalination facilities, or disaster relief. No other nation has operationalized floating nuclear reactors. Russia operates commercial fast breeder reactors, nuclear reactors that generate more fissile material than they consume. The BN-800 reactor in Beloyarsk has operated since 2016. Fast breeders address nuclear fuel sustainability, reduce waste, and enable closed fuel cycles. They're technically complex and historically uneconomical, but Russia has operational experience that Western nations abandoned decades ago. If nuclear energy undergoes renaissance as climate urgency intensifies, fast breeder technology will be valuable. Russia has it working now. Russia's nuclear submarine fleet, while smaller than during the Soviet peak, remains formidable. The Yasin-class attack submarines and Boray-class ballistic missile submarines represent modern, capable platforms with extended operational range enabled by nuclear propulsion. Nuclear propulsion means submarines can operate submerged for months, unconstrained by fuel supplies, able to maintain presence in Arctic waters or strategic choke points without logistical vulnerability. The United States maintains superior submarine technology overall, but Russia's nuclear-powered fleet ensures persistent, credible naval capability that diesel-electric submarines cannot match. Nuclear technology provides Russia advantages independent of economic size. First, institutional knowledge. Russia trained nuclear engineers continuously since the 1950s. The West has aging workforces and depleted engineering pipelines. Second, political willingness. Russia accepts risks and environmental trade-offs that Western democracies debate endlessly. Third, long-term vision. Nuclear projects require decades of sustained investment. Authoritarian systems can commit resources beyond electoral cycles. Fourth, export leverage. Nations dependent on Russian nuclear technology give Moscow influence disproportionate to Russia's economic weight. Russia's nuclear capabilities are real, but shouldn't be overstated. Safety standards lag Western benchmarks. Chernobyl's legacy haunts institutional culture. Financing constraints limit new domestic reactor construction. Brain drain as engineers emigrate to better-paid Western opportunities erodes talent base. But dismissing Russian nuclear capabilities because the economy is smaller than Italy's misses the point. Nuclear technology doesn't scale with GDP. It scales with political will, institutional continuity, and long-term strategic commitment. Russia possesses all three. Beyond avant-garde, Russia has deployed the Kinzhal air-launched hypersonic missile and the Zircon ship-launched hypersonic cruise missile. These systems reportedly reached operational status before comparable American systems. Hypersonic weapons travel at speeds exceeding Mach 5, maneuver unpredictably, and can evade current missile defense systems. If credible, and U.S. defense assessments suggest they are, these systems change strategic calculations for carrier battle groups, forward bases, and high-value assets. The United States is developing hypersonics aggressively, but Russia achieved operational deployment first in this domain. That matters strategically. Russian electronic warfare systems demonstrated effectiveness in Ukraine, Syria, and during regional conflicts. Systems like Krasuka and Murmansk BN can jam communications, disrupt GPS signals, and interfere with targeting systems at significant range. American military systems rely heavily on GPS, satellite communications, and networked connectivity. Effective electronic warfare degrades these advantages, forcing reversion to degraded operational modes. Electronic warfare doesn't require economic parity. It requires technical competence, understanding of adversary systems, and investment in specific capabilities. Russia has focused here, while America optimized for other domains. The S-400 and emerging S-500 air defense systems represent highly capable integrated air defense networks. While American stealth technology provides advantages, these systems force American planners to allocate resources, plan carefully, and accept risks. Russia has exported S-400 systems to Turkey, a NATO member, India, China, and other nations. These exports generate revenue, create dependencies, and complicate American operational planning in regions where adversaries operate Russian air defenses. Russia cannot match American defense spending, $75 billion versus $850 billion. Symmetrical competition is impossible. So Russia invests asymmetrically, long-range missiles instead of carrier battle groups, electronic warfare instead of global satellite constellations, area denial systems instead of force projection platforms. The goal isn't defeating America in conventional war, it's making American military operations costly, risky, and politically difficult. It's about deterrence through denial rather than parity. These capabilities integrate in the Arctic specifically. Hypersonic missiles launched from Arctic bases threaten American assets across the North Atlantic. Air defense systems cove or approach routes. Electronic warfare capabilities degrade NATO communications. Nuclear-powered submarines operate beneath ice where detection is difficult. The Arctic becomes a domain where Russia's asymmetric investments compound geographically, creating local superiority despite global inferiority. Russia is not a superpower. Its economy is too small, too resource-dependent, too technologically backward in most sectors. We established this thoroughly in a previous analysis. But Russia is not irrelevant either. By concentrating limited resources on strategic niches, space launch capability, Arctic infrastructure, nuclear technology, specific defense systems, Russia maintains capabilities that constrain American options, create dependencies for other nations, and preserve strategic influence disproportionate to economic weight. Western analysis often falls into binary thinking. Superpower or irrelevant. Russia is neither. Russia is a major power with geographic advantages, institutional continuities in specific domains, political willingness to invest long-term in strategic capabilities regardless of opportunity costs, and declining but still formidable technical capacity in niche areas. Underestimating Russia because GDP comparisons favor America is how surprises happen. Crimea was a surprise. Hypersonic deployment was a surprise. Arctic militarization was a surprise, but only because analysts dismissed Russia's capability to execute. America's strategic challenge: how to maintain global commitments while adversaries concentrate on specific domains. The United States must defend everywhere simultaneously: Europe, Pacific, Middle East, cyberspace, space, Arctic. Russia only needs to create problems in select locations. This is the asymmetric challenge of hegemony. Dominant powers spread resources globally. Revisionist powers concentrate locally. The Arctic reveals this dynamic clearly. Russia invested heavily for 15 years. America studied options. The result: Russia possesses infrastructure and operational capability America cannot quickly replicate. This isn't Russia winning through superiority. It's Russia winning through focus while America was distracted. Can Russia maintain these niche advantages? Challenges are severe. Economic stagnation limits investment. Sanctions restrict technology access. Brain drain depletes talent. Aging infrastructure requires expensive replacement. Demographic decline reduces the workforce. But authoritarian systems can sustain strategic investments beyond what democratic cycles allow. Russia has demonstrated willingness to endure economic hardship for strategic goals. That resilience shouldn't be dismissed. The relevant question isn't, is Russia a superpower? It's, can a declining power with strategic focus in specific domains constrain a dominant power with global commitments? History suggests yes. Britain faced this with Germany before WWI. America faced it with the Soviet Union in specific domains. Great powers face this with regional powers constantly. Russia's strategy is deliberate. Accept economic weakness. Concentrate on strategic niches where geography or institutional advantage exists. Use those capabilities to constrain American options and preserve space for Russian influence. Russia's space capabilities are real, but declining relative to competitors. Its Arctic advantages are significant and growing. Its nuclear technology remains globally competitive in specific applications. Its defense technologies challenge American systems asymmetrically in select domains. None of this makes Russia a superpower, but it makes Russia a strategic problem that America cannot simply ignore or dismiss. The frozen frontiers of the Arctic, the contested void of orbital space, the technical complexities of nuclear power, these are domains where Russia refuses to concede defeat, and in those domains Russia's focus creates challenges for an America spread thin across global commitments. Recognizing this isn't alarmism, it's strategic realism. Russia is declining, constrained, and economically weak, but it's not irrelevant, and treating it as such creates vulnerabilities. The Arctic is where this reality becomes undeniable. Beneath the ice and above the atmosphere, Russia remains a power, not a superpower, but a power, and that distinction matters.